Look at this organizational chart of a modern university. Departments like physics, medicine, ethics, and theology are arranged on a flat, horizontal plane, viewed as separate but entirely equal pursuits of human knowledge. But if we rotate this structure on its axis to reflect a 17th century university, that flat plane breaks into a strict vertical pyramid. Theology is placed at the absolute apex, structurally supporting and ruling the disciplines beneath it. Francis Turretin operated inside this inherited structure when he compiled his massive Institutes of Hellenistic Theology. Maintaining that apex position in a scholastic environment required immense philosophical rigor. The discipline could not survive on pious sentiment alone. To legitimize theology as a true science, Turretin had to answer two foundational epistemological questions. He had to define its object, exactly what it studies, and its genus, the specific category of knowledge it belongs to. Answering these questions is the precise formulation of the bedrock logic that justified theology's total authority over all human inquiry. The first problem Turretin addresses is overlapping academic disciplines. Fields like physics, ethics, and medicine study the human being without collapsing into a single science. As this diagram illustrates, a distinct science is defined by its angle of consideration, not its raw subject matter. We see a central human figure, but the three lenses representing physics, ethics, and medicine each refract a completely different subset of data. For theology, Turretin establishes the primary object as God himself. Everything else, creatures and human duties, is secondary and only studied insofar as it relates to him. To secure this definition, Turretin breaks from Thomas Aquinas. Aquinas allowed a specific concession. He argued that theology could legitimately study God as a bare, abstract deity, analyzing him in the exact same way a natural philosopher might study a primary cause. Turretin rejects this entirely, pointing to the strict limit of natural reason. He argues that knowing God merely as an abstract deity offers no salvation. That type of detached philosophical knowledge only condemns humanity by exposing its faults without offering a remedy. Therefore, Turretin restricts the formal object. Theology can only study God as he is revealed and covenanted to his people in Christ. Get the object wrong and theology collapses into abstract philosophy. Restricting the object to the covenanted God secures theology's unique salvific status as a distinct science. With the object defined, Turretin moves to his second hurdle, defining theology's genus, or what kind of intellectual habit it actually is. The standard epistemological categories of the era were inherited directly from the philosopher shown in this marble bust, Aristotle. Theology immediately fails Aristotle's strict philosophical definition of knowledge. True philosophical knowledge requires self-evident rational deduction, whereas theology relies on divine testimony and revelation. We can see the mapping problem by looking at Aristotle's 5 standard intellectual habits, arrayed here in an empty matrix: intelligence, knowledge, wisdom, prudence, and art. Turretin maps theology against all of them. It functions like intelligence because it relies on fixed first principles, and like knowledge because it draws demonstrated conclusions. It functions like prudence because it directs practical human action, and like art because it actively builds up the church. Finally, it functions like wisdom by dealing directly with the absolute highest cause of reality. Because it draws on all 5, the boundaries dissolve, leaving wisdom as the closest composite match. Theology refuses to fit neatly into a single Aristotelian box. Its origin in divine testimony forces it to operate as a composite supercategory, utilizing all human intellectual habits simultaneously. To finalize his model, Turretin applies one crucial modifier to this genus, identifying theology specifically as architectonic wisdom. An architectonic science operates like the heavy keystone dropping into the center of this archway. It is a master builder discipline that creates the rigid framework necessary for all other structures to exist. This diagram shows the exact epistemological power dynamic of an architectonic science. It governs and judges all other sciences, pushing verdicts strictly downward to law, medicine, and philosophy, without ever being governed or judged by them in return.
The practical result in a scholastic university was unilateral. Every other academic field had to answer to theology's final verdicts, but theology was immune to theirs. The historical designation, Queen of the Sciences, represents a strict logical classification, a direct result of these precise definitions of object and genus. By defining theology's object strictly as the revealed creator and its genus as architectonic wisdom, Reformed scholasticism engineered an intellectual architecture where divine revelation was mandated as the final judge of human inquiry.